So I'm just sitting here thinking about my life and the situations and the things that I'm going through, and I'm currently reading First Samuel, and some of the story of Saul and David. I can see how some of those parts or some of those things are happening in my life. While I don't necessarily see them all exactly that same way, I do see how I might be a little bit like Saul, in that while it was God that called Saul to be the king, and I followed some of what God wanted me to do in hiring someone I knew for a job, and that was led by God to do that. Just like Saul went a little bit ahead of God when he celebrated, or allowed the army to celebrate their victory, and they made a sacrifice to God, which you would think would be something good, but because it wasn't exactly what Samuel had said to do, to wait for him to return, which is what should have been done, his sacrifice to the Lord wasn't received well. So running before God is kind of what I'm getting at, and where some of the things I did based on what God had told me to do, but in every circumstance, I may not have waited on God to deliver me through that circumstance. I may have ran ahead by my own power to try to resolve the situation. So I definitely think that that's a learning lesson for me, in that even when God calls you to do something, it's important to wait on God's instruction and follow each step according to how He leads you, and not to run ahead of Him. And I also do understand how sometimes it's difficult, because we may not feel like we hear God trying to tell us how to respond in every single circumstance. But yet, I guess we need to pray and seek God and put it in His hands, which I feel like I did, but I'm just trying to understand where God may be telling me now about my circumstances, why they may have changed. And that's just one of the things that I know that I may have done, is that in my desperation to resolve a situation, I may have run ahead of God and tried to orchestrate things by my own power, which turned out not in my favor.